BBC.
BBC.
You're with the BBC. Hello, I'm Mark Coles. Welcome to the Weekend Strand. Coming up over the next hour, Phone Home E.T. We've got alien art, UFOs and music from outer space. We visit a forest on the Swiss border which provides ancient tone wood for violin makers. We hear why Hitler's back in novel form in Germany, and the Malaysian winner of this year's Man Asian Literary Prize talks to us from Hong Kong. All of that and my favourite album of the week, made by a Tuareg guitarist recording in Nashville. We begin today with rock and pop and the return of a music icon. David Bowie released his first album in more than 10 years this week. Called The Next Day, its cover enigmatically consisting of a white piece of paper pasted over the front of his 1977 album Heroes. It's come out to near unanimous rave reviews. A real return to form, according to Bowie fans. The music on it was recorded in total secrecy over a 2-year period. Bowie not wanting anyone to know he was making an album. So, what's it like? A continuation of the industrial soul fusion of his last few albums, or, as the cover, and indeed January's surprise single, Where Are We Now, suggests, more a return to the sort of music he was making on albums like Heroes and Low back in Berlin during the 1970s. Well, the new album coincides with a spate of new Bowie biographies, exhibitions and tributes. So, my colleague Anna McNamee asked Dylan Jones, editor of GQ magazine, why David Bowie had suddenly become a big deal again.
The fact that Bowie has been professionally inactive for a decade has meant that that genuine sort of love, appreciation, goodwill has sort of come to a fore, and it's all sort of coalesced. There have been newspaper articles, magazine covers, DVDs, books, pretty much for the last 5 years, because there was certainly a feeling that Bowie had retired, that he was ill, and also possibly might not be with us for very much longer. So a lot of the stuff has been, well, it's all been retrospective, but a lot of those pieces, a lot of those books, a lot of the events, possibly even the exhibitions, were sort of premature obituaries.
We live closer to the earth, never to the heavens. The stars are never far away, stars are out tonight. They watch us from behind their shades. We see Jack and Kate and Brad from behind their tinted windows stretch, gleaming like rock and sunshine.
The record is extraordinary, really extraordinary, and contains some songs which are as good as anything that he's ever done. The first single is probably one of the best David Bowie songs ever. However, as a caveat, I have to say that this record, and this is not meant to be a criticism, this record is no better than his previous two records.
First they give you everything that you want, then they take back everything that you have.
I was wondering really how you would categorise this album. I mean, it's not old Bowie at all, but it's really not the new Bowie or the more recent Bowie. Certainly, there are elements of rock in there, and that's what really surprised me, was how rock-based this album appeared to be.
Yes, I slightly disagree with you. You take something like Dirty Boys or the title song, they both sound like they could be on Heroes. They're very, very heavy, multi-layered rock songs. Very, very heavy and quite dark. But the rest of the album is as varied as his previous two records. And if this record, The Next Day, had come out in 2004 and 2005, people would have been less reverential. It would have been received slightly less well, because it would have been just another great David Bowie record.
Valentine told me how he feels. If all the world were under his heels.
And yet it's filled with all sorts of really interesting, I think David Bowie quirks. There's one track called Valentine's Day, which sounds sweet. And then you start paying attention to what he's actually singing about, and you realise that this is not a nice Valentine's Day. This is not about love and roses. This is, in fact, a song about a very distressed young man.
Time knows it all. He's got something to say. It's Valentine's Day.
one of the things that you really get from this record is the fact that we may have thought that there has been a vacuum in the last 10 years, but here is someone, very erudite, sparky, tuned-in artist with antennae that has soaked up such an extraordinary amount of material in that 10 years. And I think if you are a creative person, to actually not produce anything in 10 years, you can have an awful lot of things stored up. I mean, having said that, I think the album's too long, but then I think all CDs these days are too long. I think it probably would have been even more excessively reviewed if there had been, say, 10 songs on it, or 8. But that's
playing hard to get.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I don't suppose you can begrudge him that because he hasn't produced a record in 10 years.
I wonder, in 20 years' time, do you think we're going to be talking about any of these tracks in the same way that we talk about Heroes, the same way that we talk about some of that early work?
I think it depends what happens next. He has another album in the can, as he used to say. It depends how public he becomes. It depends how quickly the next record arrives. But Where Are We Now is as good a song as he has ever done.
David Bowie's new album, The Next Day, which is out now.